Hey everybody, before we get started, I just want to remind you this episode is brought to you by our patrons like Aga Comics, Qua, Jeremy Vasquez, Kylie Denton, Nestor Flores, Soto-san 0424, and Video Gamer 75. If you like what we do and want to see us do more, consider supporting us on Patreon. You can get access to episodes early and lots of other goodies, and it'll really help us out. Thanks for your support, everybody. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am super excited because it is time, once again, to talk about Star Wars Legion by Fantasy Flight Games. Man, it's been a long time since I did some Legions. It's good. Feels good to be back. Hasn't been a lot of news, but looks like we're back on for a Legion month after a bit of a dearth and some product shuffling, some shuffle shoe. We got some news, and yes, mea culpa. I did say I would probably do a Bosk video, and then I didn't because there was absolutely nothing new learned in the Bosk preview article, and I was just like, whatever, you already know about Bosk. Sorry, he didn't interest me super a lot. I'm not a hyper-competitive player, so I'm mostly just here for cool Star Wars stuff, and I'm like, Bosk's alright. He's okay. I would prefer generic Tyrannos with scatterguns, but anyway. We're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the fact that finally, previews are coming back. That's me slapping my leg. And we're going to talk about Rebel Veterans pack. Yes, it's here. Here it is. Got that spread. Got that detachment. We got what the detachment rules are in a little bit. I should double check what they say, but I'm not gonna, so I'm gonna fire off from the cuff and y'all can correct me. You can make yourselves feel smarter if you know better than me. But basically, as far as I understood, to include the a unit that says detachment in your list building, you must take the unit that is listed with detachment. So in this example, we're going to talk about a unit later that says detachment Rebel Veterans. You cannot include that in your list building until you unless you have one in there, and I believe you also have to deploy within range 1 of your detached zone, or maybe range 1 to 2. I'm not sure about the specifics. Somebody else can remind me in the comments, you know? And then you'll post comments. I'm devious. Just joshing with you. But yeah, so it's about like what people expected. You have to have the Rebel Veterans unit to deploy the medium blaster trooper. We'll talk about that in a second. And so you kind of got to work around some stuff. We'll talk about some of the other list building conundrum in a second. And we'll talk about all the upgrades and stuff. But let's go ahead and move right into the Rebel Veterans unit card. So, Rebel Veterans are a core unit. You get 4 minis per card. They cost 48 points, so that's... Oh, shoot, wow. It's been so long since I talked Legion, so my terminology is gonna struggle for a little bit. But, hold on, now I gotta double check. The Legion. What's the default Rebel Trooper? This number escapes me right now. Dear FFG, make an official list builder app for Legion, please. Anyway, core. Regular Rebel Troopers are 40 points. Okay. I was like, what are they? Is it 40 or 30? What's the number there? So, yeah, they are... your regular troopers are 40 points, so you're paying 8 more points. However, Rebel units are generally cheaper overall. So you probably have a little bit more wiggle room in your list. You get 1 wound per mini, 1 courage, white defense, pretty typical for Rebels. But you do have surge to hit and surge to block. You are speed 2. You have 2 keywords, which are, I think, the crux of these veteran-type units. Keyword number 1, coordinate emplacement trooper. After you are issued an order, if there's a friendly emplacement trooper at range 1, you issue an order to them. So, pretty solid. That works with both the F1D turrets and the medium blaster trooper, who we will talk about later. Both of those are emplacement trooper rules. So basically, build synergy. You have to issue less orders than you think you do, and it's very helpful for fire support. Hey, guess what? If your medium blaster guy is right up next to your Rebel Veterans, you can hand him an order, and then when you activate the Rebel Trooper, bang boom, you can immediately jump to fire support. Well, we'll talk more about that later. Also, you have the Defend 1 keyword. After you're issued an order, gain 1 dodge token. So I've been paying too close attention to this. It was spoiled by... Somebody got a copy, I think, in Spanish early of the pack. I don't know what's going on with FFG's distribution. I assume it's got to do with, like, tariff troubles that... Gosh, I don't even know. Have either happened or are still upcoming in America. So they're probably trying to spread out their printing a little, and it means that it seems like some of their product is, like, leaking like a sieve. But... The whole details of the unit were shown in a different language that were translated, but as you guys know, if you've watched me for a while, and if you haven't, hey, I've been going back since before Legion was a thing. I did a very successful video on what we know about Legion when it came out, so check out the backlog if you want my hot opinions, which are probably terrible. But anyway, I've heard some back and forth, but wasn't paying super too much attention because I like to work off official preview articles because the images are cleaner and so on. You know, official sources and all that. I've heard controversy about Defend is what I'm getting at. So I would say this. It is important to note, Defend is not nimble. You do not get to reuse your dodge token, but you still do get action efficiency, so it's good. I think the Imperial version where you get an aim token is probably better, but in Placement Troopers, you know, if you're still being in cover, stuff like that, you know, you're making use of your terrain, you're making use of other people. Heck, if you're using support abilities to, like, stack dodge tokens on these guys with, like, commander orders and stuff like that. Or, hey, you still only got one courage, you're suppressed, you can still get a dodge token, and you improve your cover by 1 while suppressed, too, so there's that. So, you know, you've got better defenses than you think you might, and Defend helps improve that, but no, if your unit is going to get focus fired, Rebel veterans will crumple probably worse than regular Rebel troopers, which you're going to hate because they're 8 more points expensive. So with veterans, you definitely need to be aware of the lay of the land and make use of their abilities. Hey, guess what? The guys who model the troopers from Hoth are better at digging in and entrenched fighting. Now, what do you want to do with your other action? I don't know. You might want to move and shoot. You know, you might want to be able to go, okay, I can, you know, tuck into cover here. Got a decent average speed, too, and then I can plow and keep a dodge token. Maybe you're in position to shoot, and you can aim and fire. They can take a training slot. This is actually suggested in the article. They can take a training slot for Overwatch and get Sentinel, so they've got blaster rifles for range 1 to 3. So you could, you know, aim standby, you know, get my XCOM camping strats. Where's the XCOM minis game? I know they got a board game, but they should just use that license and produce XCOM the miniatures game. You only need 3 factions, because one of them is Exile. That's right, I'm not going with XCOM 2. Give me XCOM Enemy Within. I want mechs. I'd run the all-mech army. Anyway, that's a discussion for an entirely different time. But yeah, so Defend can be as okay as Nimble, but boy howdy, like I said, you really don't want to get focus fired. So, let's talk about some of these more effects. So for combat, you got pretty standard for a core unit, a trooper. You've got an unarmed black die. Pretty decent, you got surge to hit. And then you have the Rebels A280 blaster rifle, one black die at range 1 to 3. Now with surge to hit, so probably worth it. I mean, Rebels already had the pretty decent attack die, and now you've got that surge for that extra. It's not as good as Reds, but it's a very reliable hit ratio. If your unit is fully charged, and we'll talk about the cost of an extra trooper in a second, so you can even go up to 5. You'll be able to lay out, 4 or 5 black dice. Like I said, maybe you have free actions to aim. You can probably do pretty good defensive conversion on that. You've got heavy weapons, you've got personnel, you've got training. There's a variety of training options these guys can take. Like I said, Overwatch is recommended. I would say that's probably a pretty good idea since they do have range 1 to 3 primary weapons. You could consider duck and cover. I don't know if you want to do that because that's at your courage, right? That's very risky for ranged attacks, but it's possible. A better idea might be the new one that's coming out in this pack. It's not that new, but it's newer. Is Endurance, which is, I believe the timing is after your activation. You remove a suppression token, so you remove suppression at the start and at the end of your turn, basically. Also, I believe Endurance is May. That's probably the best one for these guys, and it comes in the pack. And there's probably some other stuff in there that you might choose. They have a gear slot. Hey, guess what? These guys come with environmental gear. That's 3 points. That's probably a really good idea considering their speed 2 to just be like, nope, difficult terrain. I can just jump over barricades and stuff and keep moving. But there are other options you could go with. And they have a grenade slot. What grenade would you pick? Probably depends on whatever you're doing is anyway. It's the same as a normal core trooper. Search to crit on frags isn't awful. Get all those red dice. But if you're dealing with... These guys don't have any anti-armor, so impact grenades are probably a good idea. But they also don't have any blaster sharpshooter, so maybe concussion. It's a whole thing for us. And in future, I don't know what box are going to come out for Rebels and Imperials, but in one of the later Clone Wars... I think it's in the later Clone Wars, it might be in the card pack. I'd have to double-check the inventory. But smoke grenades are coming, which will basically create a smoke token, which breaks line of sight. That might be really good for these guys to give them even more, literal cover of smoke to advance under. And so we've pretty much talked about everything here. I think they're okay. They're good. A good example of a quote-unquote veteran unit. They have a slightly different style to the normal Rebel units, like I said, lacking nimble. But they're not shorter ranged like fleet troopers, so I think some people will take advantage of them. I don't think you're going to fill up on 6. One, I don't think you're going to fill up on 6 because you're going to want to use some of those slots for emplacement troopers, which, again, we'll talk about that in a second. But also, I don't know if you want to blow all the points on that, but definitely they make a good hardy unit to either, say, sprinkle in like 2, do 2 of each of the 3, and then you've got more flexibility, or do 1 of each, and then, do differently. Because, I don't really know. Activation still seems like it's really key, so you don't necessarily want to scrimp out on activations, but these guys are a little bit more expensive. For primarily the improvement is in synergy, and in the fact that they get, surge to hit, all right? Like, is the slightly different keywords and the single extra hit face on their attacks worth it to you over regular Rebel troopers? I don't know, but they do have some interesting options. Okay, let's talk about their specific upgrades. So let's talk about those upgrades. This is technically take 2 because I did a recording of this section already, and it was too quiet, so I gotta retake it. Anyway, so, hey, math-wise, guess what? If you couldn't calculate the per unit cost of 48 points for 4 troopers, here it is. Rebel Veterans is 12 points for 1 mini. So, considering these guys are a little bit pricey, I don't know how often you're going to take this. If you can find room, an extra black die, an extra wound, it's probably worth it. They still get surge. So, I don't know. You'll want to have to figure out where your list building is at and where your wiggle room is to include this. That said, I will say that I think that the Rebel Veteran is kind of the cherry on top of your sundae here. Because the real money is your heavy weapon option, the CM-O/93 trooper, who I will refer to as the CMO trooper or the O93 trooper, I guess. So this is 31 points, a little expensive, but I think it might be worth it. You get a range 1 to 3 weapons, same as your blast rifles. You add 4 white dice, and it has critical 2. And we've confirmed through RRG updates and stuff that the way critical 2 works is when you're converting offensive surges, it says right here, change up to 2 surge icons to crit results. So, do you like Z6s? I've heard they're very good. They're very swingy, but sometimes they can make or break an attack roll. Well, you get 2 less dice. You only get 4 as opposed to 6. But Rebel Veterans do have surge to hit, which makes these slightly more accurate. And, critical 2, which, because of the way attack pools work and weapon keywords, this means any of your 2 surge icons. So, for 31 points, you double your raw damage potential. You go from 4 dice to 8 dice. And not only can you surge to hit on all of those, but 2 of those surges you can flip to crits. And if you're rolling 8 dice, there's 1 surge face. Probabilistically, the odds that you'll find one result that's, the result is 1 in 8, so you roll 8 of them, it's statistically likely that you'll get at least 1 surge face you can flip to a crit. I think that's how that works. Did I ever tell you that probability was the only math I was ever good at? Anyway. So I think the CMO Trooper is the real winner here. Yes, it is a little bit expensive, but like I said, double that damage, and then you get crits. So it's not as reliable because it relies on surge faces as opposed to hit faces. It's not as reliable as impact. But if you get those surges, you're looking at up to 2 that will punch through armor. And you're looking at 2 that, because of the timing, this is during convert surges, this will punch through dodges and cover, because those reductions apply to hits only. They can't block natural crits, which critical counts as because of the timing chart. It's do surges first, then apply cover and dodges, then mods, and so on and so forth. So, pretty good effect. I like it a lot. I think it's pretty good. Like I said, there are people who are willing to go whole hog on a Z6. Why wouldn't you go whole hog on the CMO Trooper? Also, interestingly enough, I believe that this prop, this guy, or possibly gal, the art makes it look more feminine, but the screen cap from ESB actually looks like a dude. But I believe this prop was never named before, so this is the first time this gun has been named, as far as I know. So that's really neat. And, I think it's pretty good. I like the critical. I like the flexibility. Yeah, it's a little swingy, but Rebels are used to that sort of thing, and you do still have the surge to hit to fall on. You're looking at a lot of potential. And then, hey, you might get 9 dice if you have the Rebel Veteran. Though I will say that I think that the Rebel Veteran the regular Rebel Veteran card, I should say, much more encapsulates my life. Because that's definitely a guy, because he's got 5 o'clock shadow. I'm just thinking, yeah, that's me. Haven't shaved in a couple days, cold as balls, firing wildly with my Space AK. But that's a conversation for a different time. And I think that's everything we need to talk about the actual Rebel Veterans upgrades. CMO is pretty good, if a little bit expensive. Hope you can find room in your list building for it. Rebel Veteran, cherry on top. Or maybe you're running 1 or 2 of your veterans as like a minimalist unit, but, sometimes you go lean and mean. If you're going truly lean and mean, though, don't even bother. Don't even buy the 5th Trooper. A shout out to the 5th Trooper podcast, by the way. Anyway, let's go and talk about the other unit card that comes with this expansion, which I think is really neato. So, the Medium Blaster Trooper, or Mark II Medium Blaster Trooper, but you don't need to say all that, just Medium Blaster guy works. Don't even call him Trooper. So this is an interesting one. This is 38 points for a single mini core unit who is a detachment trooper. That's right, this is a detachment trooper as a core unit, which is pretty neato. Kind of think I like the way they handle this. So this is a detachment to Rebel Veterans. That means that stuff we talked about before. Gotta have Rebel Veterans in the mix to put this guy out there. 38 points, so technically he is cheaper than a singular unit of Rebel Troopers. And he doesn't have a lot of upgrade slots, so you're not going to pay a lot more than that. They have the fire support keyword, so when another friendly unit performs a ranged attack, if you have a face-up order token, each mini in your unit may add an eligible weapon. There's only 1 mini, so you add 1 weapon. If you do, flip your order token face down, so this lets you, if you have an order, you can add your dice to basically get a kind of a combo attack, which is pretty good. A lot of people know that from theory crafting about clone troopers, this is a really good combo, and so it works out pretty well. We believe that both of the detachments will have this. So you also have full pivot, so when you pivot, you can pivot 360. That's cool. He's on a tripod, that makes sense. You have reposition, so before or after you perform a movement action, you can perform a free pivot. And you have Sentinel, your standby range is 1 to 3. And he's 3 health, 2 courage. I guess having a big stonking tripod gun, it gives you more courage. White defense die, but you do have surge to hit and surge to block. Speed is only 1, though. Though, interestingly enough, this guy still has his unarmed die. You can get into a melee and he can still punch you. Though, actually, now I need to double check the RRG. I haven't really done a lot with Emplacement Troopers before, so I'm not as familiar with their rules, by heart, so I can't remember if you can even, are they, vehicles where you can engage them or not? Do they get free melee? Anyway, he still has his blaster rifle, his A280, range 1 to 3. But the money is the Mark II Medium Blaster, range 1 to 3. So no 4-dot range here, but you're looking at 4 black dice, which is also critical to cumbersome and fixed front. Not that fixed front is a problem with your full pivot. Cumbersome, and remember, cumbersome, it even says here as a reminder, I was just thinking about that myself, you cannot use the weapon and move except for pivoting during the same activation. So I believe that means if you stand by, you can still use a cumbersome weapon. I believe that's come up, and that's how that works, because it's not the same activation. And obviously, one of the ways to handle this is your speed 1 is to move, and then on your next turn, you can pivot to point at somebody and shoot still. But also, fire support's not your activation, so if you're in position beforehand, you still get it. Though obviously that does mean you have to be in position, which with speed 1 can be a little bit weird. So they have a comm slot. It's their only upgrade. I think there's 2 ways you're going to handle this, basically. You're going to either have them tucked tight in, basically double moving right on the butthole of your Rebel Veterans, and then just, if they move at all, right? Because, you flip their activation face down when they do a fire support, which can make them kind of slow. If you're playing an army of medium blaster troopers and Rebel Veterans, you're definitely going to want to slant certain objectives, right? Or definitely slant their board position. Sorry, yawned a little off screen. The point is, though, because you give them the order token with coordinate, as long as your Rebel Veterans get an order, this guy gets an order, and thus you can fire support on any unit and add, assuming they're positioned correctly, add 4 black dice with critical 2, which is pretty good. Pretty punchy. That's a lot of offensive power added to that mix. And if you're working them with like, for instance, if you only have, like, 1 or 2 Rebel veterans, or maybe 1 Rebel veteran and 1 medium blaster trooper, and then all your regular Rebel troops, or kind of like a 3-2-1 combo, Critical 2 works even if you don't have offensive surge. Like, it still gives you surge conversions, even if you're using a unit that doesn't normally convert on attacks. So, pretty solid. A lot of utility. The main issue I see... oh, I should say my second strategy before I get into issues. The thing is, they have a comms upgrade. There's only 4 of those still. You got long-range comms jammer, HQ uplink, comms relay. Comms jammer is expensive and requires you to be at range 1 of enemy units. Do not put comms jammer on these guys. You won't be that close. So the choice is relay. Relay can be good for coordinate shenanigans. It's also cheap. You know, if you need to daisy chain your orders around. That said, I wouldn't include it. I wouldn't default include it simply because the default include is nothing. So your primary is going to be either long-range comlink, so you can be issued orders as if you're in range of the commander, or HQ uplink, you can exhaust it to give yourself an order in the command phase. That HQ uplink for 10 points takes it to the same cost as a unit of Rebel veterans, and I think is the most ideal. Because if you're out of position to coordinate, or anything like that, or other stuff, you can still tap HQ uplink and basically give these guys a order token face up, which can be really useful with fire support. So, concerns. The speed one is the kicker here, really. Like, obviously, fire support means that if you, off and on, you have a turn where you're like, woo, we're going to hoof it, and then next turn we're set up, we're going to make sure they get an order, like an HQ uplink or coordinate or something, and they're going to be ready to do a focus fire. That's pretty good. That's going to cut into the amount of turns you're firing with these guys. And remember, you only get 6. So, like I said, there's going to be certain objectives, certain styles of play. This isn't going to mesh well. An alternative, don't fuck around with fire support. Don't even bother. Use them as a cheap placement unit who are throwing as many dice as a basic Rebel unit, only with offensive surge and critical 2, right? Like, this guy costs 2 less than your Rebel Troopers unit. He's slower, but, like, if you move an Overwatch, and you can remember, you can reposition for free. You can pivot for free. You can full pivot for free with reposition. Like, you can tuck that fixed in anywhere, and you can stand by with Sentinel, you know? Like, you can use these guys as emplacement weapons that they're supposed to be, not moving them around too much, and focus on just standing by, aiming, and just, you know, when a guy gets in your sights, you blast him. Now, there's some questions there that I don't think we know the answer to. Mainly that we're not going to know how prevalent Clone Wars guys are going to be, and we don't know yet what their ranges are going to be. Imperials have a lot of range 1 to 4 tech. Rebels less so, depending on who you're facing. You know, you might get outranged, which is always a problem for standby, because if you get suppressed or something, you know, that token just falls off. That can be a pain in the ass. So you need to watch out for, like, snipers or something. You're going to want to make sure your terrain involves full line of sight blocking, like, not even heavy cover, but, like, literally, you can't shoot me from that angle kind of stuff. Or you want to counter snipe first kind of thing. So that can be a problem with if you're using standby strategies. If you're using fire support strategies, that works too. You know, then doesn't matter. This guy's not really... You're not focused on moving all the time, and you do have a little bit more courage, you know? You got a little bit more HP for meat, but just... The fact that they're 38 points for 4 attack dice with critical 2, like, technically their overall health is lower because it's only 3 for 1 mini as opposed to 1 for 1 mini, but 4 minis. So he has, like, 1 less health overall, but he's got 1 more courage. Still got surge to block and has surge to hit, so you can just try and use these guys as cheap offensive, and you can use them as kind of a backline support. Like, you could try the 3-3 combo with Rebel veterans, because I also believe, I didn't mention this earlier, I believe the way detachment works is it has to be attached to one unit that has that name, and you can only attach one, so you can't run, like, 1 Rebel veterans and then 4 medium blasters tied to that one guy. I'm pretty sure that's not how that works. I'd have to double check. Like I said, let me know in the comments below. But I think they're decent. Like I said, I don't know. This really plays to some of the Rebel strengths of being able to get more activations and more bodies for less money. Less points, basically. And I think with, critical, I really like the critical keyword. I don't know if I've said that before. I really like it. I like it more on Imperial units because they use guns I like more. And possibly designs I like more. But anyway, different discussion. So, these guys are pretty cool, I think. I think it's really interesting. And I haven't double-checked. I believe the MSRP for this is slightly higher than a normal core unit, but not so much as, like, literally buying 2 Rebel expansions, for instance. Like, it's not double the price of a normal one. It's, like, slightly higher because you get 2 unit cards out of it, kind of like a Special Forces unit, and you get all the minis you need. And that's pretty freaking neato. Like, I like these guys a lot. Can't wait to talk about Shore Troopers, because I think that's going to be way more interesting with what's going on with the mortar, right? That's going to be kind of cool. Anyway, talking about Medium Blaster Trooper. Let's outro. And so, we're winding down. The rest of the contents of the pack, as far as we can tell from the spread, it'll come with, like I said, the training upgrade Endurance, the training upgrade Overwatch, and then there's gear, which they said in the article was environmental gear. So, nothing like super new, nothing really fancy there. More of the fanciness is the fact that you get 2 unit cards, and some other new fancy stuff in there. But decent, since like I said, environmental gear is probably a pretty good gear choice for these guys. It's inexpensive and gives them something they want. Overwatch might be good for them, or maybe you just need more copies of Overwatch in general. Endurance is also a choice. Really depends on your synergy. If you guys got any synergy ideas, let me know in the comments. Other than that, that's pretty much it for Rebel Veterans. Like them a lot. Like the direction the game design is going. Though, obviously, I'm super excited for Clone Wars stuff. I'm going to predict that next week, probably Tauntauns, if not the week after, so look forward to that preview. I don't know, are there any new announcements they need to make? We know we got a Clone Wars pack. Have they announced? They announced some of the standalones. I think they announced the droids and stuff. There might be some announcement for future Clone Wars stuff, too, peppered in there. We'll see what happens when. I know that they're going to do a stream that's Clone Wars focused sometime this month, but I'm not sure when. I'd have to double check it. I only sometimes watch FFG live. I'm sorry. I don't always have the time when they stream in the middle of the afternoon. Got shit to do, So anyway, thanks so much for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed it after such a hiatus from Legion. I will continue, obviously, to do more Legion videos, because I like Legion, even if, as I say, I don't play it enough. Yeah, we got Discord. You can come hang out with us. Anyway, let me just do the regular outro stuff. Which is that if you like this video, be sure to give it a like. If you have any comments, leave them in the comment section down below. You can also hit up our Discord. I mentioned that link is in the description. If you're new here and have not already, please subscribe to our channel, because that's how you can get more of these videos. And, of course, even if you're already subscribed, considering that bell for notifications, because you'll never know when we post a new video. Well, you kind of know some stuff, you know what I mean? Like, if a preview article came out, there's probably good odds that I'm making an episode about it. But, hey, maybe they posted a preview on a Friday, and they're like, I'm fucking busy. And, of course, like it says at the front of the show, consider supporting on Patreon. You could have gotten this episode early. You can get other stuff, too. Shoutouts, credits, audio downloads. A high five. That's a lie. That's not a Patreon backer. Though if I meet you in person and you are Patreon, I will probably give you a high five. Anyway, stay tuned for our next video, whether it's Legion, whether it's L5R stuff, which I do, whether it's anything else. And, I'll see you in the next video. And, with your coats all bundled on, I guess it's time to say happy summer, everybody. Because the timing on this release is great. We'll be much better when we talk about Shore Troopers next month. All right, I will see you guys. Thanks for your time, as always.